Hello, everyone. This is Seth Bloom from Bloom Legal.
David Grimion here as well.
How is everyone doing? I know we hadn't done a podcast in a couple of weeks, but we've been staying pretty regular with it. I think we had our last one. We did about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So that's pretty good. And I saw on Podbean we're getting some more followers. So
right.
I'm sure things are catching on, especially New Orleans being all in the news today with this past week with the
atrocity.
The atrocity that happened. Everyone in the country that is not an LA Rams fan, it seems to see and feel that the Saints were really robbed. I was there, David.
Oh, man.
I saw it. I was on my side of the field. I'm not sure. I've been talking about it all year. And again, this isn't a sports show, but I've been talking all year, both in college and in the NFL, about how I think pass interference is way too subjective and it should be able to be reviewed, especially because that. I mean, I say let the guys play, but I mean, the guy that tackled him even admitted he was going over there, and they just fined him. We just learned moments ago.
Breaking news
that he was just fined $26,000. So we know at the very least it was an illegal helmet-to-helmet contact. So even if you're going to argue that it wasn't a pass interference, it's still a personal foul, 15 yards, and it really was 3 penalties at one. But don't stop me. But you know what? There were so many people in town for the NFC title game. And that kind of leads into what I wanted to talk about a little bit today, and that is in a town like New Orleans, we have Mardi Gras still coming up.
Yep.
And don't you worry out there, there'll be a number of pods on Mardi Gras.
We may even go live from the quarter.
In fact, I have big news today. Jeff Courier asked me to be on his show to talk about Mardi Gras safety.
Oh, there you go.
So we'll be booking that, and we'll keep you, we'll get on the real terrestrial radio, not just on our podcast.
Right.
So
we're going national.
We're going to be big time here. But with all these people in town, you know, the old United cab system and yellow cabs, it's not what it used to be. So everyone uses Ubers and Lyfts. Talk about your New Year's experience or NFC title game. I mean, how many times have you used Uber and Lyft in this holiday season, David?
Almost every time I've gone out for the NFC Championship game. I watched it at a local pub. Finn McCool's, took an Uber, actually a Lyft there and back from my house.
Is that your World Cup spot too?
Of course. It's a great bar. That's kind of the soccer bar or the football bar of the city. So that was, obviously a great time until the end of that game. But yeah, I mean,
when you said football, you meant that in like the European way.
Of course, yeah.
I don't know that our listeners are that sophisticated to know the difference. But
I think you're selling our listeners short.
Yeah, in the rest of the world, football is soccer. Mm-hmm. We're just different. It's a mile to a kilometer kind of thing.
I mean, we're right, but it is what it is.
We're right.
But yeah, Uber and Lyft. I mean, I think everyone these days uses it. It's easy. You have an app. You hit pick me up. Your phone tells Uber and Lyft where you are. They come and get you. You know that you're not going to be drinking and driving. That you're hopefully going to be in a safer position.
Yeah, but I mean that's what I wanted to talk today. That hopefully you're going to be in a safer position. I mean, look, I don't want to be the curmudgeon here that's going to talk about all the dangers of Uber, Lyft, and other ride shares. But I mean, let's look at the business model, and we don't feel bad about Uber or Lyft. I mean, these are companies that are now I saw Uber was valued in the $50 billion range. So these are companies that obviously have changed the way of transportation. I just saw Lyft was teaming up in the San Francisco area with linking people to Amtrak and doing a deal with Amtrak.
Wow.
So I mean, I'm so pro Lyft and pro Uber and think these game changers and disruptors, as the kid call them, are great. Yeah. But when you have a business model that is making billions and billions of dollars, at some point there's liability there. I mean, no business doesn't have risk or liability.
Sure.
And I don't think if we look at the business model, and I think when people like my uncle, who was formerly in the town car and limousine business,
oh wow,
he thought it would be such a failure just because of the absurd level of liability. And probably Uber and Lyft have been good at skirting around a lot of employment laws and certainly taxi limousine laws to kind of because of the independent contractor. And I don't want to
1099s, yeah.
I don't want to bore people with their entire setup, but I mean, let's go back to the model. Okay. And I've taken Ubers, Lyfts, I'm not bragging, but all over the country, all over the world. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But let's talk about this. I mean, any person who has a valid driver's license
A new enough car.
A new enough car, personal insurance. And we can go to the cars in a second, because I don't know how, the standard of those cars is pretty weak these days. And basically no criminal background within some reason.
Sure.
If you fill that out, you pay the registration fee, your background check's done, you're there. But nowhere says you're a good driver.
True.
I mean, even if you haven't had any accidents, maybe you have no experience as a driver. I mean, I've had everyone from, men and women in their 80s driving me.
Yeah.
Or just, young people, 21 years old or something. So, these are not trained drivers. So when you put people in the millions or the tens of thousands out in the street driving people, in cities they don't know. I mean, especially now people come in from the suburbs to drive in the cities.
You can make more money.
Of course, but you don't know the city. And there is an art to being a professional driver.
Absolutely.
I know everyone can't afford a professional limo driver, but even a taxi driver, that's their route. I mean, when you go to those guys...
You know the streets, you know the back ways, the ins and outs, and traffic flow and that sort of thing, and it makes a big difference. And especially in a city like New Orleans that has so many one-ways and streets full of potholes and... just streets that have no lines or markings.
So someone lives 30 miles from where you live or 60 miles where you live, and they're trying to pick you up at the airport. And that's one place I don't love Uber and Lyft. I know it's cheaper, but I always find, and I think this is I think the airports still don't know how to deal. They're not built for rideshare pickups.
Sure.
So even at those most sophisticated, airports, LAX, Seattle and stuff, it's still sometimes easier to walk outside and see, 100 yellow cabs lined up than searching through parking garages for the one tiny little...
Maybe that new Orleans terminal will figure it out.
David,
we'll see.
David, I doubt it.
I'm doubtful as well, but you never know. You got to have hope, Seth. It's a new year.
Yeah. I don't know. Major infrastructure projects in New Orleans and I don't always see eye to eye.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so what happens is, in one area of the law that we've been, dealing with is what happens when you get into an accident, whether it's the Uber driver, the Lyft driver's fault, or it's someone else's fault. What do you do?
Well, if you're in an accident and you're hurt, you first contact the, police and ambulance, make sure you're okay. But then it becomes, who's at fault? If you do have injuries, obviously you aren't the one driving. So if you didn't cause the accident, but you were harmed in it, who is liable? And
if you're a passenger, unless there's very few exclusions. If you're a passenger in a Lyft or a Rideshare or an Uber car, that you would be in any way at fault.
Exactly.
So if you're injured, you treat this like every other accident. You need to call EMS out there if it's EMS. You need to get to an emergency room. If it's not that serious, you get to a doctor or urgent care clinic the next day. But take care of yourself. And if you're hurt, you need to call a personal injury lawyer. You don't want to talk to the insurance company. Nope. The good news is because of the ridiculous risk of sending strangers in various cities out to pick other strangers up, Uber and Lyft does carry a substantial amount of insurance, so there is insurance there.
They make sure to protect themselves, for sure.
They do protect themselves and the driver and the rider. So even if it isn't the Uber, even if it's someone without insurance that hits the Uber driver, you're still covered. So we've been handling a lot of these cases, and I think it's with this new 5G and this new technology, this may be the future of injury work and claims like that, is because I don't care how automated everything becomes and everything is driven by data and digital, there's still going to be accidents. Machines and systems aren't going to always be on the same platforms. So although we've talked a lot about the benefits, or I've talked a lot about it, David, of Uber. Uber is so convenient. It's so easy to use. Lyft, and in these ride shares, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Especially in some cities that never had taxi services, and it provides jobs. So it's a win-win for everyone. But again,
on that job front, Seth, I do know there's been, at least in the last few years, speaking of insurance, a lot of articles and blogs and things written about the actual drivers. So if any of you out there actually drive for Uber and Lyft, whether you are covered when you're driving. Now, Uber and Lyft, they do have policies that cover you while you're actually driving a passenger. But if you're in an accident while you're quote-unquote working, but you don't have a passenger in the car, some personal insurance companies won't cover that accident unless you have rideshare insurance. So you need to make sure that your insurance is the proper insurance, that you would be covered just in case something were to happen.
And that's a good life tip in general. Most people, even sophisticated people, business people, doctors, lawyers, accountants, don't really know or understand their insurance. And what I've always often told clients, if you're a pre-existing client, I'll do it for free. If you're not, you got to pay me. But I mean, ever look at what your homeowners or renters insurance, really covers? What does your auto policy really mean? I mean, you should know that. That should be part of your, wealth management strategy. Absolutely. Is to protect your assets. And most people don't know. And a lot of people learned it the hard way, living through Katrina down here. Mm-hmm. So knowing what your insurance is, and sometimes, these things are really, people have stuff they don't need, or then they have stuff that they should have gotten that was, you'll find at the end of the year it was $30 extra a year. And,
always better to have more coverage.
Yeah. So I don't want to talk about it anymore because I'm still upset about the Saints.
I think the whole city, the whole country is. I did see, our boy down here, Taysom Hill, the BYU grad, they had a BYU basketball game last night.
Go Cougars.
Yep, and the BYU faithful were out there, and they were heckling the head referee from the Saints game who missed that call, who was also reffing that basketball game.
What?
Holding signs saying...
he refs basketball,
he does.
Too?
Said, hey, don't screw these Saints.
I mean, I would think that's interesting. I mean, I would think at the NFL playoff level that this gajillion-dollar industry, which pays a lot of money...
Yeah,
that they wouldn't allow.
I mean,
in the middle,
especially with the kickbacks he got to make that call.
Yeah, yeah. You heard us, Goodell.
Make a statement.
I don't want to be too harsh. Maybe one day, I'll apply to work for the NFL. Right. I'll do their crime and prevention and injury prevention. So, all right. Thanks a lot. That's Seth and David. Bloom Legal.
Take
Give us
care.
a call.
Be safe.
Free consultations. 504-599-9997. Or shoot us an email, sjb@bloomlegal.com. We'd love to hear from you. Have a guest speaker. One's coming up soon.
Coming soon.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.